So let's talk about React. So generally speaking, we don't want to show static content to the user. In other words, we want to give the user the opportunity to interact with our application. Probably the most obvious example is a button, right? You just play a button, and whenever the user clicks on the button, the application reacts. So I would like to present you how to deal with the problem of updating the user interface after a user event, following the classic guidelines, creating a class, a JavaScript class. Again, on Thursday, Gray will perform a similar session using hooks, which is a new way of dealing with React. But for now, let's talk about classes. So look, I got my main app component. So I would like to create here a button said, will I do well on Wednesday? Yeah, so it will essentially check your performance. So now, let's create a class. So let's pay attention to the syntax. We type class, the name of the component, and then extends react.component. Look at the syntax. You just need to get used to it. Yeah? Once you've typed that line 3 million times, it will sound natural. Until then, just keep practicing. That's the way we say, hey, this is a React class. And because it's a React class, we can set up a list of callback functions. What that means. So first of all, we can initialize our component. Does anyone know the initial component in JavaScript when you create a class? The constructor, correct. The constructor, yeah? So here is where we can initialize our component. I'll go back to it in a minute. Render. So render is where we can display stuff, right? So let's display something static. Return, remember to type return, right? Div, yes, you do well. Yeah, something like that. So that means that if I refresh the page, oh, sorry about that, you got an error. Why? Because I've ignored something. Whenever you create a constructor, let me show you, we always need to type super open and close parentheses. This is one of the oddities of JavaScript, but in reality, this is there because of a reason. So that's the way we bind our class with React, sort of, yeah? So again, you are not expected to fully understand what that means, but for now, just remember to write it as the very first line of your construction. All right, and now, as you can see, the application is telling us, yes, you'll do well on the challenge, right? No problem at all. So now, let's add a button. So whenever we click on the button, we update the message. So a button is simply an HTML button, right? Button tag, and then I'll say check again. So now, I want to change that text as soon as the user clicks on the button. So how do we do that? Well, we need to add an onClick attribute. Be careful with the capital C, Lisa. Because in HTML, it's all in lower cases. Yeah? But in React, yeah, it's capital C. And now, and then what? Look, on click, open and close, curly braces. Let me move stuff to a new line for readability purposes. And that's another oddity of React classes. You will see how simpler this line will get with hooks. But for now, whenever you want to bind with a user event, you need to do this. You need to open a function and then call your method. So let me create a method called this.checkAgain. this dot, that's important. Whenever we deal with classes, the way we refer methods is with a this dot prefix. So now I can create a method. And here I can manipulate the text. But now the question is, how do we change that text? It's not that simple, to be honest. It's not that simple. Does anyone has any idea? No? Say it again? State. Yes. That's the way we deal with dynamic data in React, with the state. So the state looks like that. In the constructor, we initialize it. So we do this.state equals whatever we want to dynamically change. For instance, let's set up an object with a message. So by default, I'm going to assume you'll fail on Wednesday. Yeah? I'm in a Monday mood. So now, let's ignore the button. Let's ignore the button for now. Can anyone tell me how to display that message from the state? How do we get that message printed here? This.state.message. Like that? Oops. What happened without the curly braces? Look, without the curly braces, it will display the message as it is, which is a bit weird. You know when you get an email from a marketing campaign saying, hello dollar user, like what the hell is dollar user, right? It's because they fail interpolating your name with the variable, right? So to interpolate it, curly braces, and then if I refresh, yeah, I got the message. Not a very nice message, but the message is there, right? So now, in here, I want to update the message. Whenever the user clicks on the button, I want to update the message. So, can I do that? This.state.message. So let's see what happened. In theory, we are updating the message, right? So message is a variable that belongs to the state object. So, you know, we are updating the message. Now the question is, will the user interface reflect that change or not? Let's figure out. If I refresh, let's click on the button. I can keep clicking until Wednesday to see if anything changes, but it doesn't look like, right? It doesn't look like. All right, so to understand why, let's do something. Let's open DevTools. From now on, if you need any help, I want you to have DevTools open. DevTools is the mechanism that facilitates the process of debugging your application. Let's see how it works. If you do right click anywhere and you click inspect, and you are lucky enough, you'll see a window with DevTools. But in this particular occasion, it's not happening. That's a common issue with Google Chrome. Yeah, it sometimes fails. And because I'm tired of how crap Google Chrome is getting, I'm going to close it and I'm going to open Safari. So if you are a Mac user, I will recommend you to use Safari. Yeah? So look, I got my Safari web browser and I will try to do the same thing. Right click, inspect element. Safari and Chrome, they are very similar. They share the same engine, which is WebKit. So now, that's the window I wanted to open and I failed with Google Chrome, right? So as part of DevTools, I can manipulate my app. I can do many things. But for now, I'm particularly interested on the debugger tab. Why? Because on the debugger tab, I can open my file. So what's the name of the file? Oh, sorry, where I am. The name of the file, I'll find it, I promise. Here you go. Here you go. The name of the file is app.js. So I can open that file directly on Safari. To open files, there is a shortcut. If you are a Mac user, it's Command P. If you are a Windows user, it's Control P. So now we can simply type the name of the file. You see? I can select it, and here you go. That's my fantastic and sexy component. So what's my point? My point is that now I can add breakpoints. So breakpoints, let me clean up a bit what I had before. So breakpoints are a way to easily stop the execution of your application, to analyze the state of the variables, functions, APIs, and everything. So now look, I'm going to add a breakpoint on line number 17. And I'm going to add a breakpoint on line number 13. And I'm going to add a breakpoint on line number 9. So, if I refresh the page, can anyone from the evening plan, because we already done that on the full time, so the guys already know the answer. If I refresh the page, can anyone tell me, imagine that this is the Jubilee line, right? In which stops, the execution will pause. So, for instance, Darius. So tell me just the line numbers. 9, 9, 17, and 13. So you think that if I refresh the page, it will stop on line number 9, then on line number 17, and then on line number 13. 13. Wrong. You don't get the job. Let's try with... Who else wants to participate? Daniel. Seventeen. 9, 13. Wrong. You don't get the job neither. Alberto.
I would say 19,
19.
17, 13, 9.
Wrong. Wesley.
17, 9, 13, 17.
Wrong. Yeah, Joshua.
I've got 9, 17, 13, 17.
Wrong. Gideon. 9.
17, and then 13. That will stop there. 13 and back to 17.
So, okay, so you agree with Joshua?
Yeah.
So you agree with Joshua even I told him that he was wrong. Nice. And Lisa, last but not least.
Wait, I don't even know what
Sorry, I cannot zoom that. Yeah, that's a bit hard to follow. Here you go.
Wait, so what am I doing?
Right, wrong. Wrong because not paying attention.
Hold on,
Right, you were wrong.
Can I just guess? Can I guess?
Well, yeah, if you want.
Okay, 9, 13. Hold on. 13.
Wrong already. That's it.
No!
Right, you're all wrong. And you're massively wrong. I mean,
Wait, what am I doing?
It's 9.
no, wait. That's it. You don't have any other opportunity, right? This is about forcing you to thinking twice. It's completely wrong. I told you the only thing I wanted to do is to refresh the page. Why everybody literally thought the check again method is going to be executed by simply refreshing the page. That method will only run if I click the button. Maybe. But if I don't click the button, I can do whatever I want inside of that method. I can buy weed on the deep web, right? This is not going to be executed. So that's wrong. Well, but that's a better question. So let's first understand what happened without user interaction, and then we can make the exercise a bit more spicy. To me, this exercise is a classic pair programming problem with a candidate. If the candidate is unable to give me a right answer without hesitation, I will ask 2 or 3 more questions to not give the feeling I'm very rude, but immediately that candidate will be out. I will never ever hire anybody, not even a junior developer, unable to understand that. All right, so the thing is, first of all, which method runs first? Constructor, check again, or render? Constructor. That's correct. That's correct. So Daniel, Alberto, Wesley, wrong from the first one. Render will never ever run until the constructor runs. Yeah? So the first line will be 9. Then it will run number 17. Will render the component. Yeah? Fine. And then that's it. 9 and 17. Much simpler than what you all propose, right? 9 and 17. Let's see if that's right or not. Let's refresh. It is up on line number 152, right? Which is completely bullshit. So, yeah, that happens sometimes with Safari as well. Here you go. Oh, right. So that's not right. Let me try again. Here you go. Now it's correct. You see? Constructor, line number 9. By the way, you can continue playing the class by pressing that button here. You see the play button? Continue script. You see, we jump to line number 17, and then that's it, 9 and 17. So now the question is,
If we click on the...
exactly. Now I'm not going to refresh the page anymore. I'm only going to click on the check again button. And I would like you to tell me the execution order. So, from the evening guys first. Who wants to start? Okay, Wesley, it looks like you want to start.
17, 13, 17.
Wrong. Darius.
Shouldn't the function be binded first?
Say it again.
Should we bind the function with this?
Should we bind the function? The function is bound, it's here already. I'm just going to click on the button. That's the only thing I'm going to do.
Just 13.
Yes, what?
13.
Yes, 13.
I think that's right. No?
So Darius and Lisa, they say only 13. I'm not going to say it's right or wrong. Alberto?
I think it's gonna be 13, and then 13.
Again?
Then no, sorry. I did keep thinking. So we do 13, then 9, and then 7.
Daniel? Here, guys, Joshua?
I'm going for 9, 17, 13, 17.
9, 17.
Okay, 9, 17, 13, 17.
So we just have Gideon.
13, 17, what 13, to 17.
Again, right? How many times? 3, for instance? Or 4?
It's not defined.
5?
It's not defined.
It's not defined. Right. So you're massively wrong, except someone. Right? So Darius and Lisa, they understood it.
We did?
Oh, God.
Really?
What?
Yes.
Yes! Who's Darius?
That is it.
Oh, well done, Darius. Have fun.
Why? Why? Look, if I click on the button, here we go. You see? We go to line number 13. I mean, I'll tell you something. It doesn't really make sense go to line number 9. That will never happen again. So the component is initialized only once. So line number 9 will never ever run again unless I refresh the page, right? So that's not correct. It doesn't really make sense to think that line number 17 will run first. So the component has been rendered already. So unless something happens, it's not going to be re-rendered. Yeah? But now the question is, all right, we go to line number 13. If I continue the script execution, will it jump to line number 17 or not? If I continue running the function, right? Because now it's stopped here on the button. So will it re-render? No, why not, Darius?
Because it's not changing states. It's changing the message.
That's correct. In theory, in our mind, we should re-render because we want to update the text, we want to update the copy. Yeah? So whenever you want to update the user interface, you need to re-render. But look, if I click here, it never happens. You can do it again if you want. 13, and that's it. That's why Darius and Lisa were right. Again, that's how it works. But that's not what we wanted. I hope you agree. We would like to do 13 and then what? 17, correct. That's what we tried to do. But that didn't happen because that's not the way you update your user interface. It's the way you may think it works. Everybody thinks, okay, it should work like that. But that's not the way React works. So in React, if you want to do that, you need to type that, this.setState. And now we have to pass an object with all the properties that we want to change. In this particular case, it's only one. Like that. Whenever we call setState, React will understand that we want to refresh the UI. And because of that, it will immediately call the render function again. So, let's do something. I'm going to refresh the browser and we'll try again. So just to make sure you really understood how it works. So as soon as I refresh the browser, can anyone randomly tell me the execution order just by refreshing the browser?
But you reset the constructor first.
I'm going to refresh the browser. That's it. 917. Does anyone disagree on that? No, let's try that. Refresh. 9. Oh, it moved it. Sorry, it moved it. Let me try again. 9, 17. That's it, right? Cool. Yeah. At least I'm not thinking you are not the right candidate after 30 seconds of interview. That's good. It's a good starting point. Now let's progress. What if I now click on the button? What will be the execution order? Lisa? 13, 17? Do you agree or not? Let's try. Let's have a look. I agree with you, Lisa.
Really?
Look, 13, and now because we are updating the state, React will say, all right, no problem at all. That means you want to change the UI, right? So just pay attention to that message because it's going to be updated in a second. Look. Still stop here, but I can spoil the results. You know how? If I hover the variable, you see? This is the text that will be printed on the screen as soon as I continue the script execution. Boom. Yeah? So that's the way you update your components in React. This dot set state.
So you use this dot set
Set state.
state when you want to refresh.
When you want to refresh the user interface.
Okay.
Why do you want to refresh the user interface? Well, there are different scenarios. Either because you want to react to a user event, like this case, you click on a button. Maybe because you call the backend. You will see starting on task number 18, 19, 20 in conflicts that you call the backend. And as a side effect, you fetch data from the backend, you fetch the list of TV shows. You want to re-render the user interface, you want to display the movies, right? So you want to change the user interface. In that particular case, we will also use set state. So every time you want to change the user interface, you call set state. When talking about classes, yeah? Again, Gray on Thursday will talk about hooks, which is a different way to get the same results. Any questions?
So when you refresh the page, that on click is bound to that function.
That's correct. Yeah. When you refresh the page, the on-click event is bound to the check again function. So whenever we click on the button, hello. Whenever we click on the button, it will run the function. Anything else?
The same way you have set the state, you have something like update the state.
No. No, set the state.
Set state.
That's a special method in React.
Can you update more than one element?
Yeah, of course. Look, message. Let's do something. Let's have a message and mood. So by default, bad mood, right? But whenever we click on the button, no, Lisa style. Super happy, right? So now we can display message, comma, mood, what else? Correct. This state mood. So of course you can change many properties at the same time. Let me get rid of the breakpoints because you already know how they work. You see? Sad face. And then happy face. Yeah, so that's all good. It goes without saying that we should try to minimize the amount of times we re-render. Re-render a component is expensive from a computing point of view. So don't call set state more than necessary. You will see when integrating with the backend API that will ask you to call the backend only once, not 30 times. What happens if you are using your smartphone to get the list of movies? You don't want your smartphone to go to the cloud every 10 seconds to ruin your data plan. So we'll talk about efficiency, performance, and these things. Anything else? No?
Sorry, the doubt I have is that you have a state, but you modify the state. How will you keep that state? Like you have this of a state, this message, not your fail,
Mm-hmm.
and then you hit the button,
Mm-hmm.
then you refresh again.
Mm-hmm.
There is no way that update the state within that without database or no.
I didn't get the question, sorry.
You have a value on message,
Yeah?
but when you hit, you set a value.
Yeah, you change it, yeah? That's the initial value, and after clicking on the button, you update it.
Then just disappear and get back to the same.
Yeah?
Yeah. So they without database or anything else, there's no way to
No.
say
No. This is, of course, so this, at the moment, this information is hard-coded. So that means that if I refresh the page, we go back to the original state, right? Of course, when talking about conflicts, we'll talk about how to fetch the data from the backend. Because if the data comes from the backend, you can connect it to a database. Yeah, but for now, yeah, it doesn't persist. As soon as you refresh the page, everything is wiped. You'll need to call the backend again and say, hey, please add this TV show or edit this TV show title. So you need to integrate with the backend. Without backend, there is no persistency. Yeah, what? You'll see that on task number 20, 21, 22, so don't worry. It's a bit hard to, like how to switch a gear with a car. It's a bit hard to explain, right? You need to play with it. Cool, anything else? No? All right, so yes, FYI, this is the old way of binding events in, well, I mean old, still valid 100% today, right? But now the community is moving away from this strategy because of its complexity, especially dealing with these oddities, the way you bind with a function. Yeah? So now the community is quickly moving towards hooks. If it helps as a reference, this summer we ran a summer social event with 45 senior React developers in London, and they did a React challenge like the one you've been doing these days. And I think no one used classes. They all wrote code with hooks. That's to give you an idea about where the trend is going. That doesn't mean you should ignore that. It will feel very weird if you go to a job interview and you know all the hooks and all the advanced stuff, but you don't understand the fundamentals, right? So start with this. Once you master it, by natural interest, you'll migrate to hooks-based approach. Cool, guys.
So if you're using hooks, you don't need something like Redux.
No, that's completely separate. I don't want even to talk about Redux. Redux has nothing to do with either use hooks or not use hooks. Completely separate. Cool, guys.